Welcome everybody to my next chess lesson about the Philidor position in the Rook endgames. This is one of the most important endgames you have to know in chess. And at first we're gonna make some rules to keep the things easy. The first rule is to placing the rook on the rank before the pawn and the king of your opponent. Don't allow to come in with the king, and also don't allow to push the pawn. So this is very important, this move. This is the only move which holds the draw in this position. The second rule is, if your opponent tries to give you some checks, for example here, you just go up and go down with your king. The third and last rule is, if your opponent tries to push this pawn, you just go back with the rook, and if your king goes forward, you can give this check from behind, and there is no escape for this king, because the last escape square was the square e6, but his own pawn is blockading here. So this is a forced draw. And next, I want to show you what will happen if you break the first rule. The first rule is to placing the rook in the rank before the pawn and the king. And if you don't do this, for example, you try to give some checks now, this is losing immediately now, because the king can escape and white can have at least Lucina position, which is a winning position. For example, I will show you a few tries by black now. The first try for black can be to escape with king to f8, but this is also losing, because after rook check, the king has to go forcefully to g7, and then white's king can come down, and this pawn is gonna run. I will show you a few moves. For example, he tries to give some rank checks, but that won't work because he has no checking distance. For example, pawn pushes, the rook gives a check, king goes here, check, king down, the zigzag tactic. After check, here comes king to c6, and there is no check left, and nothing wanna stop this pawn. So that doesn't work. We could just go back. So after king to e6. The next try from black can be to play rook to d8, but this one will not work. It only provokes the threat of rook to a8, but it is also losing because the rook can go to the other side, and after king to f8 he will lose the whole rook. So that is also losing. The next try and last try I will show you is to play a waiting move like rook to d2. But then this is also completely losing after check, and exchanging the rooks he can go king to f7 and nothing is gonna stop this pawn. At this time around I want to mention that the Philidor position not only can happen at the end of the board, no, it only can start at this position. This is a forced Philidor position later on. For example, we're playing just the rook here before the pawn and the king, and the advanced player can push the pawn no matter. We just go back and we're just waiting if we have this checking distance behind white's king. So for example, I make a few moves for you. If we have reached this position, this will be very good for us. For example, now we can give another check. And if we reach this position, we can go for our Philidor after check here. Now we reached our very good known Philidor position, and we know how we can handle this. If white can push the pawn, we just go, for example here, we just go back and give the checks from behind, and there's no way to escape for white's king. At least I want to show you what can happen if your opponent has a rook or a knight pawn, and how to go for a very easy draw here. And the only thing you have to remember is to place your rook in the same rank as your king is. And then just stay with the rook on this rank and wait for your opponent. Just make a few moves and you can see it. Pawn can push. We're just waiting, king can push, we're just waiting, and then white has no good tries. For example, you give a check, we just go away, check, go away, nothing will happen. And whenever he pushes the pawn, he can still lose the game after rook to g6 check, king has to go away, and we just grab the rook, and black is winning finally. Okay, I think that was the most important thing you have to know about Philidor position games. I hope you enjoyed it and you've learned something new about your own chess. Thank you, bye bye.